And I'm going to read what the Gordon Mosley wrote from the release. He says, the Ghana Police Force reported this evening, he was talking, that's yesterday evening, that post-mortem examinations were conducted yesterday on the remains of the 5 Ghana Defense Force soldiers was left out, who lost their lives last Thursday, should have been Wednesday, when the helicopter crashed during a trip from Olive Creek to Arau in Region 7. Gardner got buy me a drink by. You said Thursday the people died. It was Wednesday, if my memory serves me correct, and so on. Of the 5 who died, 3 of them died from severe burns, according to post-mortem examination report. The report stated that retired Brigadier Gary Beaton was so badly burned that he had to be identified by his dentures. His brother and a brother-in-law identified him. The commanding pilot of the helicopter, Lieutenant Colonel Mike Charles, was burnt beyond recognition and was identified by a name tag that remained on part of his uniform. The report also stated that Lieutenant Colonel Sean Welcome was badly burnt and he was identified by 2 of his siblings. The other 2 victims, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Sahoud and Staff Sergeant Jason Khan, both died from multiple injuries to their bodies. News source understand that it is suspected that Lieutenant Colonel Sahoud is Colonel Sahoud. Gardner, you got to pay big by Colonel Sahoud. You said Lieutenant Colonel. He is the Colonel Sahoud. Jumped from the helicopter as it plummeted through the trees to the ground. His body had to be removed from a tree where it had been stuck. 2 servicemen, co-pilot Lieutenant Andy O'Crawford and Corporal Dwayne Jackson, survived the crash. They were both admitted to the hospital after they were brought out from the crash area. News source understand that the helicopter broke into 3 pieces and a section of it burst into flames as it crashed through the tall, large trees in the jungle. Staff Sergeant Jason Khan, who has since been promoted posthumously, was reportedly pulled from the wreckage by Corporal Jackson, but died a few hours later as they waited for help. In addition to his multiple injuries, he was also badly burned. A cause of the crash is still to be determined as the incident is under investigation. And then it goes on to say the information I gave you earlier. The funeral of Lieutenant Colonel Mike Charles will take place Wednesday, while the others will be laid to rest on Friday. Now, this postmortem report raised a lot of issues. Now, if these people were so badly burned, the report is saying that Mike Charles was born beyond recognition. How come they identify by a tag? You identify by a tag, that is proper identification. One would have thought, and that is my training, I did that report at the FBI, that in cases like that, you have to identify the bodies by science. If prints are there, prints, even when you come to the dentists that talk about, no relative can give dental identification, it has to be dental record from a dental facility and all of that. And they say in some one of the releases that they took samples for DNA identification. So I am still confused. And a big question, a burning question when I went through this as a former senior police officer, FBI trained. If you're saying that the pilot, Mike Charles, was burnt beyond recognition, as they say in the report, how come the co-pilot survived? The co-pilot is supposed to be next to the pilot. And one would have thought that if the pilot burned beyond recognition, that the co-pilot may have suffered the same fate. So there are a lot of questions to be answered. And I know they're going to tell you, well, let me wait on the investigation. That is what they are going to say. But I'm telling you the maths and maths in. This plane crashed and burned so badly that Mike Charles, well-known, popular pilot, perhaps one of the more experienced helicopter pilots in Guyana, he was burnt beyond recognition. That is what the report is saying. And they have identified by some tag. What nonsense is that? What nonsense is that? And then you're still taking DNA. It simply means that you're not satisfied with the identification. You are not satisfied with the identification. So a lot of covering up. People ain't stupid. He might be big. The Volkswagen say I'm a geriatric. Yes, because they say by definition geriatric is once you pass 65, and I long past that. But my brain still functioning. The brain is still functioning, and I'm saying because of the silence of these people, it fuels speculation. Again, I ask the question: if Mike Charles, the pilot, was burnt beyond recognition, according to what they're saying, how come the co-pilot survived this crash with virtually no scratch or anything like that? How come? And the co-pilot, as I know, they know different. Perhaps they can clarify that. Sits next to the pilot. They're the two up front there, pilot and co-pilot. That is how I know it. That is how I know it. Well, let me bring in CC to say something. CC, help me out here, man. This postmortem examination confusing me even more. And I know that I am not the sharpest tool in this shed, but oh man, me I'm stupid. So help me out here, CC.
Paul, just like you, I did management of that investigation, one of the courses at the FBI. And this investigation that is going on, it leaves much to be desired. And they gotta realize that they're not only investigating an aircraft accident, they are investigating the death of 5 persons. And that's critical, the death of 5 persons. And in my training with the FBI, I remember Arthur West Weaver. He was our facilitator. And here's what he said. This was the code. This was the I have the document here, management of that investigation. And it's saying this was on the front page, and that was the team throughout our training. It say no greater honor will be bestowed on an officer or a more profound duty imposed on him than when he is instructed with the investigation of the death of a human being. It is his duty to find the facts, regardless of color or creed, without prejudice, and let no power nor deter him from presenting those facts in the court without regards to personality. Let me go over again. No greater honor will be bestowed on an officer or a more profound duty imposed on him than when he is instructed with the investigation of the death of a human being. It is his duty to find the facts, regardless of color or creed, without prejudice, and let no power on earth deter him from presenting those facts in the court without regards to personality. And I don't know how you could a relative could say hey, that you identify him by his denture. I don't know what really went on there, but in terms of the training that I had, they talk about identification of mass casualties. We deal with mass casualties, talking about accidental deaths, fire, explosion, vehicle accidents, aircraft accidents, and military operations. And some of the things we want to know, what happened at the scene, accident scene? Was it properly secure? What about the chain and custody of physical evidence? Communication between the investigators and the central office? The relationship between the clothing of the person and personal effects found at the scene of the respective human beings. And you identify some of the means by which you identify, yes, they get it clear by dental records. Yes, they get it. Yes, well, if they're born up, they might get fingerprints. You check out health records, and if possible, if you can get blood, you do blood tests. They say the identification of unknown human remains is based upon comparison of known information derived from records with data obtained from examination of the victim. What you know about the victim and what you find at the scene or what you found on the victim, you use that comparison to see to come to a conclusion whether that is the person you're looking at. You said dental, yes, but then two relatives, maybe they are quack doctors or quack dentists, and then they come and say, yes, this is the person. And then Paul, a very critical area. Now we had some men rappel. They went down to ground zero. They spent 2 nights there. and then you have 2 survivors. We have not heard a word. We have not seen a sentence from the survivors. Nothing from the survivors. Nothing from the persons who rappel who went down there. What is the army holding up? Who is the army withholding? Come out plain and say what is it? Come out and let us know. Don't mind how damaging it is sound. Give us the facts. And if you don't give us facts, people are gonna start make their own assumptions. Because people saying the co-pilot wasn't in the co-pilot seat. People saying that, hey, look, I don't know what truth is, that the conditions were so bad that he refused to fly, and the chase at the back, and the operation man was flying the aircraft. All kind of thing you're hearing, and all because the army is silent. A wall of silence exists up to now. Since Saturday, not another news conference. The army must give update. They wait until the investigation finishes, and then when the investigation is completed, by then you have a whole set of allegations that they can debunk. It's terrible. I'm saying, those persons who survive, are they so psychologically affected? That, are they so affected, like the boss, that they can't say anything, that they can't recall what happened? They are the person they could tell you. They could tell you how they take off, whether they had fuel in the aircraft, whether or not who was flying, and the position of the persons were on that aircraft. So many things that you can get from those survivors and those persons who went down to ground zero. But the army is silent, a wall of silence, and therefore they open up themselves to a lot of allegations, and a lot of damage will be done that maybe no damage control work that they do would be able to clear up anything. It is horrible. It's like the ancestor, the giant ancestor, went into labor and gave birth to a mouse.
Well said. But let me say this. Let me say this. When you are silent, as they have been, you're gonna come out with something that lacks credibility. People don't start to speculate and to see all sort of thing. By now, I am sure the survivors would have been able to give an outline, to give an indication as to what transpired, especially in light of the fact that the GDF doctor on Saturday and the Prime Minister, this lion Mark Phillips, on Monday in Parliament, said the people are in good spirits. So it's not a case where they are unable to speak. As a matter of fact, I saw a report that they have been discharged. I don't know how true that is. So they are in a position to give an account of what transpired. And this is crucial. In many crashes, the investigators will tell you that they are not that fortunate to have survivors. So they have to go on science and based on the skills and all of that to determine exactly what transpired. But in this case, you have 2 survivors, including the co-pilot. So from an investigation, that is gold. And they're saying too, according to the GDF, the man in charge of the aircore, I think, that the flight, the data flight recorder, whatever it is called, referred to the black box, was recovered. And that is supposed to give you all kind of information. I don't think they have the means in Guyana of decoding what is there, but they're going to get outside help. And for the person, I had said on this program on Monday that an investigation of this nature requires the help of professionals. And the most professional organization in the world dealing with aircraft disasters is the National Transportation and Safety Board of the USA. And for the person who's asking the question, I know that they can be invited to assist, or they can be asked to assist in the investigation. They're not taking over. Similar to how you can ask the FBI if there's a crime. You can ask the FBI to come and assist. You can ask Scotland Yard to come and assist. You can also ask the National Transportation and Safety Board through the various channels you can go through to ask them to come and assist with this investigation. You can ask them to come and assist with this investigation. But the silence that we have had, helicopter went missing on on Wednesday. The chief of staff called a press brief or a media brief, 6:30 Friday afternoon. Wreckage sighted Thursday, nothing. Bodies recovered and brought to town Friday, nothing. Not until Saturday, 10 or 11 o'clock. Then you call another media briefing. That is how these things are to be managed. And therefore, all kind of speculation is being filled. Because I am sure that the survivors would have said, at least to their relatives, at least to the persons who spent the night with them, at the bush bottom, as we would say, they would have said exactly what transpired. They would have said, so it is known. I understand quite clearly that some of the details you might not be able to release to the public. You're not going to be able to do that. But there are lots of information that you can tell people to allay fears and to ease this speculation. Again, I ask the question, how come the pilot of the helicopter, Michael Charles, Lieutenant Colonel, retired, I think he was born beyond recognition? That is what the report is saying. And the co-pilot for this very aircraft survived without us born. Something, and the maths and mathsing, something is wrong. The maths is not mathsing. Mr. Conway, do you want to say anything more on this before we move on? We got to talk about it another time. What time running out, and we got to talk about this visit to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So anything else you want to say?
And I don't know what was the mad rush about. The PM and then they gone for DNA. You remember Lindo Creek? It took over a year before they could have gotten anything, So they need to have professional help. And apart from the National Transport and Safety Board, the FBI got a disaster squad. They could ask for some assistance there too, the whole thing is shrouded in secrecy, and that's why we we having problems, and that's why people are speculating, and that's why people are saying things that making the army some look bad, and they're really looking bad. So I hope that they, pick up the pieces and give us something. Yes, I agree that certain things they won't want to say because they might want to say it might compromise national security. But some other things that clearly you could let the public know. Let us know what went on, what played out there. But no, they remain silent. A wall of silence. Just like how they remain silent with Gregory Smith matter.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this too. They said the police spearheading the investigation. So I have a lot of questions that I would want to ask. What aspect of the investigation the police spearheading? Because they also said that the Civil Aviation Authority is also, as we would expect, the helicopter crash. The Civil Aviation Authority of Guyana must have a role in that. And if the police are investigating, which unit from the police? This accident took place in Region 7, I think. So who from the police, which department? Is it the major crimes unit? Which unit is investigating? These are things that should be brought to the to the public's attention. Who is the lead investigator from the police in this matter? Who investigating? Who is investigating? We need to know that. We need to know. And there's no secret. You should tell people who investigating. And let me remind them that the Coroner's Act, I think it's 403 now, chapter 403 of the laws of Guyana. The Coroner's Act says that whenever there's an unnatural death, there should be a coroner's inquest to determine the cause and culpability. Let me go that again. The Coroner's Act, chapter 403 of the laws of Guyana stipulates that whenever there is an unnatural death, and there's no doubt that these 5 deaths were unnatural, that whenever there's an unnatural death, there should be an inquest conducted by a magistrate to determine the cause of the death. So I hope they're going to do an inquest. I hope, and they're not going to tell you, say, well, they're waiting